don't understand why you're 40 years old playing this game still. So.
Well, I mean, what game do you think you're going to be playing when you're 40? When do you think you're going to stop playing games? What's the age? What's the cutoff age?
When you're out of high school and college.
You're a high school kid?
Yeah, I'm in high school. Yeah.
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, you foresee yourself in the future quitting something you love, like video games? Do you not love video games? You just cruise through it.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time when you're that old. But
well, how do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but...
You know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games, too, right?
Yeah, you can study and not play games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
All right, then.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Arcade. My name is Brian, and I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and we're going to be talking about the cultural news of the week. I try to make the PlayStation 1 power-up sound like how you know we're going live, because it's just like everybody loves that sound, you know?
Yeah, no, it's great, it's great.
Yeah.
I certainly am living up to my name as of the last 24 hours, that's for sure.
Yeah, we might get into some of that. But first of all, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to say hello to everybody that's watching, and please give this video a like and maybe share it around, especially if you're on Rumble. I'm really trying to make the Rumble channel grow if I can.
I will be in the Rumble chat myself. And I have shared a link. I've shared a link on X if anybody would like to repost it.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
That would be grateful.
But if you're on YouTube, that's okay. I do see that some of my people are on there as well. And let's we should not waste too much time because I have a lot to go through because I missed last week, and that was because I had car problems and my car is very old. It's from 2008 and it's got like almost 300,000 miles on it. So it doesn't have a lot left in it, but it's the only thing I can afford right now. So until my life changes in some significant way, I'm going to have to just keep driving this thing until it's gone. But last week I had to bring it into the mechanic to get new tires, and then I had to get my I need to get them aligned and all of that. So, it set me back, and I had to go on Saturday. It was the only day. So anyway,
these things happen.
Yeah, these things happen. But I'm going to try and make up for lost time. And a lot has happened since my last show.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So, we should get into it. So first things first, we might as well start with the best news. A lot of layoffs are going on. And games journalism is seeing a tremendous sea change. Big things are happening, huge things. So let's get into the news.
Yes,
recently,
indeed.
The gaming journalism industry has faced significant upheaval with several prominent websites undergoing sales and subsequent layoffs. On May 2nd of 2025, Vox Media sold Polygon, a well-known gaming and entertainment site that it founded in 2012, to Valnet. And we'll get into Valnet a little bit later, but they're a Canadian publisher that owns brands like Game Rant and The Gamer. So essentially, a lot of these gaming websites are going to be under the same, a smaller umbrella.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the consolidation of all things as has been happening. It's weird stuff going on with that too.
Yeah, the sale led to the layoff of nearly all of Polygon's staff, as reported by the Vox Media Union, impacting not only Polygon but other Vox Media outlets like the New York Mag Union. This move came amidst broader media industry challenges, with the Daily Dot also experiencing mass layoffs on the same day, coinciding with International Workers' Day. Bitter irony for media workers. But the International Workers' Day is commie shit anyway, so it should be gone.
Yeah. Speaking of some commie shit that does relate to media, Toasty yesterday, for whatever reason, started getting followed by the Gawker Media Group Union, who still represents Alyssa Mercante, even after her not working for Go Media, or Kotaku, which is effectively Gawker. Yeah, we're trying to figure out exactly what all that's about, because evidently, I think that her and her ilk, she's probably going to be talking to Chris Plant amongst the grubs and whatnot. Yeah, she's got a
talking
plan.
to Chris Plant.
Well, she's going to be talking to him privately. She's in the process of starting yet a new Gamergate 2.0 Whisper network with a whole bunch of old media types. This is her current plan, and I've got some speculation that a lot of these recent channel attacks have been, we're still in Gamergate 1. We just call it Gamergate.
Well, I know we call it Gamergate 2.0, but it's basically
and
it's been the same thing. Yeah. It's just that, like, when enough people start paying attention to something that's always been going on, we act like it's a sequel.
So, well, it's like World War II is an extension of World War I, but
yeah, exactly. World War II, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah,
and the Cold War was an extension of World War II. I mean,
exactly.
They're all linked together. It's just like one. We just like to give to create,
to make it seem more current, so we can go, how did this happen? It's like, because the same old shit always happens. And I think after this past year of Alyssa's constant rake stepping, along with Kim Belair of SBI, who in GameIndustry.biz wrote that article amongst many other articles, but there was one specifically where she talked about how she was instrumental in creating a Whisper network for the original Gamergate 1 and eventually the hashtag #MeToo bullshit that was afoot. Alyssa is also, incidentally, she got Ubisoft footed a bill to send her over to Rome this past week. So I'm kind of, looking at, trying to read the tea leaves, so to speak, or some kind of I've consulted my crystals. But yeah, it seems as though, I believe, because they've lost so much in the court of public opinion and whatnot over the course of the last year, they're going back to the tried and true method that worked, and they are going to continue doing targeted mass reportings on specific videos, right? Because there was a whole thing with knees out on JT's stuff this week with Alana Pierce. That I speculate that this was the work of that group going after that video specifically to do a mass reporting so that they can get him into a warning mode. So anything he does within the next 90 days will give him a technicality strike, which is what Hypnotic is certainly dealing with right now because of the events of 3 weeks ago. And then, of course, Toasty herself was demonetized, even though they were probably hoping for her to be outright deplatformed. So I think that they're just going back to the tried and true method of, if we can't win the court of public opinion, well, then we'll appeal to authority, and we'll just use bureaucracy and bot networks, algorithmically controlled systems that have no soul. And even if you talk to a human, if you're actually talking to a human in this day and age of so many AI control, methods, they're just gonna set those systems, and then whenever you get caught up talking to a robot, like Grok a couple weeks ago, there was a thing, Garbage Human Being account on X posted a picture of this woman with a painting of Pikachu with really big boobs, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's like, everybody's, who's that? And Grok's all like, this is a Garbage Human account. And they're like, no, Grok, the woman with the big boobs is like, well, I'm pretty sure it's this, you guys, and there's no arguing with the robot. So even if you talk to a human, they can't change the situation because their boss is a robot ultimately. And so I think that they're going to try to exploit that method because it actually works towards their end goal far easier than actually trying to confront anybody, head front and just actually having this play out in a way that has any bearing on reality. So they're going to use covert means that have been highly effective for woke white women of the world over the course of the last, going on 15 years, it seems like, that built up through all of this Gamergate insanity since, the whole platforming of women in games by IGA and all the other stuff that's even set that stuff into motion. So yeah, I feel no love lost for any of these people at Polygon or Giant Bomb or any of their ilk, because they're, effectively they're foot soldiers for that old world media. And
yeah, they're definitely holding on to relevance too.
Yeah, they're easily replaced. They're easily replaced. Well,
they're going to be. So like,
yeah.
Let me finish what I wrote.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Let me finish what I wrote down. So all right. Valnet's acquisition and raised concerns due to its reputation, with a recent report from the Wrap characterizing the company as a digital sweatshop, hinting at potentially harsh working conditions or for remaining or new staff. The layoffs at Polygon are part of a larger wave of downsizing in the gaming journalism sector, which has been struggling with economic pressures and market shifts. This follows a pattern seen in recent years with outlets like the Washington Post launcher and Vice's Waypoint shuttering in 2023, and Game Informer closing last year before being reopened by a new investor. The broader video games industry has also faced layoffs, with 2022 to 2025 marking a period of significant job cuts, often targeting junior staff as companies pivot toward mobile and live service games amid rising development costs. These layoffs not only impact the journalists, silencing veterans and denying opportunities to newcomers, but also harm the gaming community by reducing expert criticism and coverage, leaving fans, developers, and readers with fewer reliable sources to champion and critique video games as an art form. Or is that true? So there's a lot of whining about this, and I'm going to look at one specific case, which I just displayed there in a second.
Yep.
But the truth is that it is simply the market correcting itself. The games media could not sustain what it was in the form that it took, especially when it went after its own audience. Yep. Sometimes this thing takes a little bit of time for it to like actually settle in, but it looks like it is settling in. And I think what we're going to get, what happened with Kotaku first, when they said we're going to stop doing, like articles that are sort of like commentary or thought pieces on video games and the video game culture and the gaming industry, and we're going to supposedly return to, things like guides, and then game guides should be written by gamers, because they're the ones who are playing the game and they're putting the guides together. But What I think is going to happen now, and I've already seen this, if you have a mobile phone, so like I have a Android Galaxy something, I don't know. And on my Galaxy phone, there's like kind of a homepage that has news, and it's because my phone is listening to me all the time. Or like it looks at what I search, stories based on what I'm looking for. Yep. So, for example, I'm a big Soulsborne guy. I love the Dark Souls games, and I've done a couple of searches on that on my phone, for information about Elden Ring, or maybe I was looking for a new build I want to try out or whatever. And so my phone is constantly telling me stuff, but most of the stuff that it's suggesting that it makes articles about, if you look at it, you can tell that it's AI generated. Yeah. So what Valnet is going to be doing is they're basically going to, I don't think it's going to be so much a sweatshop, which is what a lot of people are claiming. They're just going to have AI write articles.
Yeah, and it's SEO driven AI aggregation things, just feeding off.
It's just going to be to generate ad revenue for anyone who happens to click on it, and it's all clickbaity stuff. It's going to be listicles. It's going to be like they do this thing where they're like, fans are going to be really happy with this thing, or maybe it like digs through the entire Steam library to find anything that's free temporarily or at a reduced price. And especially if it's, relevant in some way, and they'll make an article about it, and that will drive some traffic. And it's not like it's useless. Like sometimes I've seen, Steam, or I've seen that make a recommendation on a game that was on discount that I didn't know was on discount, right. and I don't think I bought it, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I like put the phone down. So what I'm saying is that even then, even like AI generated articles that are specifically exist to clickbait people into checking it out, is more useful than games journalists. It's like,
yeah,
and I can just ignore that stuff, right? And it doesn't
yeah,
cost them anything. So like this is simply that working in the way that it does. And I also saw there's like a YouTube channel called Chara Sarazard or something like that. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she's like a gaming channel. She might have been a developer, and she made this video about how, you know, how terrible it is that there's all these layoffs happening in the gaming industry. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later, because what she tried to do, and I think that she's upset because the goals of this particular stage of Gamergate are actually working, where people are like, I'm not buying that. And a lot of people who are going along with this, they don't even know about Gamergate. Like they're just sick of the, you know, all of this politicized, racialized, feminized stuff that's happening in their culture, and they're just walking away from it. Like, I don't want that. That's garbage. And I think that it's coming out in, because I've seen some videos of people who don't talk about anything but games, and they're seeing what's happening. And maybe their takes are, you know, blue-pilled or normie-ish, but they do see the problem, right? They do see there's an issue, and they are acting on that by not supporting companies who, you know, are not giving them what they want. And I'm like, that's good, because it's having a serious impact. So Chara Sarazard, I'm not butchering her name. I don't feel bad about that at all. And in fact, I don't think it's because she tried to blame, like, oh, you know, these developers, they don't care about you, they care about their stakeholders. And she tried to make this whole capitalism bad thing. And I was like, no, it's not that. Like, they might be clueless and stupid. But I think that most of it comes down to, like, people putting content in games that's not fun. I don't care. Like, she tried to say, oh, live service games are unpopular. No, I'm sorry, but like Helldivers 2 is a live service game, and it's still popular. You know, the problems that it have nothing to do with what the developers did. Marvel Rivals is a live service game, and it's still popular. It's massively popular. So that's not the problem. You don't just get to say live service bad. Like, you can do it well, or you can do it bad, you know.
I think,
and some people do it well.
I think that there is something in there to what she's saying, but she's being reductive as hell to a point to where, like, it's kind of losing.
I think she's trying to find a simple answer,
right?
But she's also trying to avoid, like, the obvious answer, which is, like, you know, Suicide Squad didn't fail because it was live service.
Right.
Like, that's what she brought up as an example. Well, people are going to get microtransaction to death. Yeah, but that's not the problem with the game. Like, that
that's a symptom. That's a symptom. And, you know, but even when she's talking about the stakeholder aspect, that has more to do with corporatist globalism, you know, the consolidation of everything, like we were talking about, top-down control state, you know, than it does any capitalism bad, because capitalism in and of itself is small businesses that compete in an open market. But it's, you know, like, but I think that this stuff ultimately is the end goal that they were searching for, because my contention is that DEI hires were meant to lead to DEI fires, and it was always going to be a period of time to do exactly this, to where the quality of the writing is such that you could probably actually get better quality writing from algorithmically driven, bot written articles at this point in time than the people that have been platformed into these positions over the course of the last 15 years that I was just previously mentioning, for all that stuff, amongst many other things. But, you know, it's definitely, there's definitely a lot more to it than just simply live service bad. I am not a fan of live service games, and I think that there's an over reliance in the, you know, in that kind of mindset that does happen at a corporate level of, you know, fucking what, NSYNC comes out, and then Backstreet Boys comes out, then it's like all, you know, like there was that period of like so many boy bands, and there's also so many pop stars that all are just kind of interchangeable, and they're all owned by their corporate whatever, but they're all selling their own various you know, flavors of vanilla ice cream, right? But they're all ultimately just vanilla ice cream with some kind of, you know, razzmatazz thrown in to make you act as though it's somehow unique or special, but ultimately it's the exact same thing being served to you, just from a different corporate mindset but even that is very derivative and, you know, part of a much more opaque kind of thing that they don't want you really looking into. But yeah, I think that, like I say, she's being highly reductive and trying to make it about stuff that it clearly isn't about.
She's trying to protect her ideology. She's a feminist. She's trying to protect her ideology. It's blame everything except the thing that's causing the problem. That's what I'm trying to get at. Right. And I'm, you know, it's kind of pathetic because it's like, God, just admit that you believe the wrong things that are not popular, and they're also just not good. Like, something could be unpopular but good. That's not popular and it's not good, okay? Or at least not with, like, it's becoming less and less popular. Right. And yeah, we can go into all of the various things, but like, to say that it's simply, you know, corporate greed or whatever, like, that's bullshit. Like, corporations can't make you buy anything. So you can buy whatever you want. It comes down to, what do you spend your money on? At this point, they can't make you buy anything unless you live in China. So, but yeah, this is Valnet, and a little bit about them. I think I already mentioned that they're basically just going to use AI to make articles, but they're a Montreal-based, so, you know, fucking Canada again, global digital media company that has emerged as a major player in the online publishing and media investment space, known for acquiring and operating a wide portfolio of authoritative brands across various verticals. The company owns and manages over 25 brands spanning entertainment like Screen Rant, Collider, CBR, MovieWeb, sports, Give Me Sport, technology, automotive, gaming like The Gamer, Game Rant, Hardcore Gamer, and travel, collectively driving significant traffic. Collider and Screen Rant alone reportedly generate 260 million page views. That could just be like somebody accidentally clicking or whatever. So that doesn't really say a lot, but that's still a lot. Monthly, Valnet's business model focuses on acquiring independently owned fan-facing news sites, growing their traffic, and integrating them into its media juggernaut, often through aggressive expansion and content production strategies. With headquarters at 7405 Trans-Canadian Suite 100, Montreal, Quebec, Valnet operates across 6 continents, including North America, Europe, and Asia, and leverages technologies like Google Ads, Looker, and Google PageSpeed to optimize its operation. Okay, so they acquired Polygon, and which we mentioned.
Yeah,
and I mean,
you know,
like,
there's an obvious joke in there about trans Canadians, but I'll let you all work them out for yourselves. Put them in the chat.
Yeah,
on Rumble.
All right. So yeah, Valnet, big company. These things are just going to exist. But like, so Chris Plant was something I didn't know about this guy until I didn't realize like what the reaction was to this guy, Chris Plant. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He made a tweet that was kind of like one of the first people speaking out about what happened. Okay. And he says, "I'm no longer with Polygon. If you're hiring, please consider the many talented writers and editors now on the market. Every one of them deserves a spot on your staff. I won't be talking more about the sale because I wasn't involved. Going to hang out with my kid, taking wins where I can." So obvious, like, kind of a subtle, passive way of like begging for sympathy. But I don't know if you guys know, but Chris Plant, okay, I don't know if you know, but he was, first of all, here's another picture of him. Mm-hmm. So you might know this screenshot from a pretty popular video that always comes on at the end of my show.
Yep.
So much where, you know, Alyssa Mercante threatens to like fight you in real life because you're a piece of shit or whatever, or something. But not only that, but Chris Plant was one of the vocal people who basically like attacked this guy, Dr. Matt Taylor, in 2014 for an offensive shirt.
Yep.
So he was one of the journalists that came after Matt Taylor, the guy with the shirt. And he did not back him up. He attacked him. So he's losing his job now. Oh well. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you're garbage for like this guy. Do you know the story of Matt Taylor, John?
Vaguely. I've heard it a few times, but details are I'll be honest. I have had quite the day, which we'll get into more in depth later.
right.
So,
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Matt Taylor is a scientist who did a historical thing. He basically landed a satellite on a comet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It was called the Rosetta mission, and it was a massive, like, historical milestone of science. He landed a satellite on a comet. Okay. And when he was speaking in, like, sort of like addressing this momentous occasion, and he was being celebrated by the media, he had a friend who designs shirts, and she, his female friend, gave him that shirt, which he's wearing in this picture.
Yep.
Which features a bunch of pinup girls that are kind of cheesecake.
Yeah.
Not pornographic. Not pornographic. No. Okay. Just cheesecake stuff. Very like, it's like bomber art, which is a little bit fitting because he landed a satellite on a comet. And journalists and games journalists included, but also just woke ass journalists. This is The Guardian. This article is more than 10 years old.
Yep.
They went after him for his sexist shirt.
Yeah.
And he was so ridiculed by the media that I wish he hadn't done this, but he did the cardinal sin that you do when you deal with these people. He apologized, and he did so tearfully.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I never forgot. Like, I didn't know that this guy was one of the people, but these people, they don't really go away, right?
Yep.
They don't really go away.
No, they get positioned.
They
shuffle the cards, so to speak, or they spin them out into other things. But
yeah. So I just want to point out that, like, this stuff, this battle that we're fighting, it's the same people, the same ideology, and it's been going on for a very long time. And sometimes you're going to get callbacks. You're going to get like, oh, remember that? And this is like one of those. This is one of those days. And so yeah, this guy's out of a job, and I don't care because I think that I don't know if Dr. Matt Taylor's been, he's probably like had to lay low. Here's a video. Here's a video of him. I don't know if it'll play, but this is him crying about the shirt.
Yep.
How is this? Maybe it's too early to really say how the science is comparing with that from the Rosetta orbiter, but perhaps you'd like to give us a bit of an overview of how it's going to compare with the data that we collect from the orbiter.
Okay, the shirt I wore this week, I made a big mistake and I offended many people, and I'm very sorry about this.
Like, he landed a satellite on a fucking comet, and they're making him apologize for a fucking shirt.
Yeah.
You have to reject this shit. You have to, in all of its forms. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just seeing that, like, just reignites how angry I was when I saw that the first time. I was like, this guy, like, these people that do this, they don't accomplish shit in their life. They don't accomplish. That's why they shame people who actually do things.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what it really comes about. Like I was just saying about how they're using their clandestine means to kind of fuck people over, and at that point, they were emboldened enough to just do it outright in public, and that was a good chunk of the last 10 years, and it all evolves from the exact same place of time's up and all this stupid shit and all this kind of stuff. There's no good that you can do in this world without being raked over the coals for it at this point in time, because of what you're talking about. These people who haven't really had to face any real adversity or difficulty, haven't achieved anything in their own myopic experience, and so they frame the world in a very deranged, detached kind of way that tries to pretend that we just need to tone police and nudge people in the right direction and we'll live in a much more civilized society through censorship and things like that, and people can't just let a guy just wear a shirt that he got from a friend, and they don't care about the context. They only care about not even the content. They're just embedded right at the surface level, and they'll sit here and they'll try to make whatever is happening right in front of you. It's like when you get into an argument with somebody and they go and they try to pick apart a word that you use rather than addressing the concept of what you were talking about, and then you end up talking about the meaning or a definition for a fucking word rather than actually having the conversation that you intended to have. Like this guy did something pretty impressive. I know everybody's all jazzed about how we've figured out how to reverse rockets and capture them here on planet Earth for reusable reentries and all this kind of stuff, or reusable takeoffs and everything rather. But this was akin to that effectively, because you're landing a whole bunch of sensitive instruments on a rock that's flying through space. Like it was pretty substantial, the achievement, and yet it gets picked apart by something completely innocuous, thereby undermining the actual impressive thing that had even taken place, that is going to lead to far more than any of these people will ever hope to achieve, in terms of actually the overall regard of humanity.
Yeah.
Because if their whole aim is to just make everybody in a completely civilized world, it's the silk glove that is gloved upon the iron fist. That it's ultimately just this authoritarian kind of overreach to try to make everybody be ones and zeros on our way to like a transhumanist reality where people are kind of secondary to ideology and the various neural networks that are going to be controlling us. It's very, very sick shit, like, because every layer you can always dig deeper and dig deeper and dig deeper, which ultimately starts getting you to all the dark shit, as it were. But yeah, it's unfortunate what they put this guy through, and I think at the time, those tears are more because I don't know, you don't know how to respond. Sometimes people have nervous laughs, and sometimes people just break down.
Well, he's a scientist. He's probably not the most fucking extroverted guy. Like he's a scientist. He's an egghead. Yeah. So really, really messed up that happened to him. But I hope he's doing better. I have to look him up and see if he's still doing the science thing. Probably, but they definitely tried to destroy him.
Yeah.
And now they're scrambling. So I want to share one more tweet from another journalist that is on Suicide Watch. Arthur Guys, I'm not really sure, on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, it seems like a really cheerful place, by the way. I've never go there, but every time I see screenshots from it, it's like, wow, this place is...
I see it through Toasty's show, but I will never go there directly myself. Yeah.
Pronouns in the bio right off the bat. Pronouns in the name. My life has taught me that everything is temporary, but to act like anything could be taken away from you at any time isn't a great way to live. And basically, I have to live in an unsteady balance on the line between those two understandings. I don't know if that's helpful, but it's all I have. Basically, I've known everything I love on the internet was temporary after they took away oink.cd. I don't know what that is. It's all been downhill from there. Fresh as I was in this industry back in 2011, I knew helping to start Polygon was the closest thing I was ever going to find to having some kind of legacy in the video games press, something tangible to hold on to in a sea of it. Ephemeral stuff people forget as soon as they finish reading it. Fuck. Can we go to a single summer game event without it feeling like a fucking wake for the video game industry? Fuck it. Not to be dramatic, but right now I feel like someone died. I'm just gutted. To my many Polygon friends and family, I'm so sorry. I haven't worked there for longer than my tenure, but Polygon always had a piece of my heart. To be a little cringe, I did a lot of damage to myself and to parts of my life helping to build it, and this is a punch right in the stomach. As for Vox Media and the people running it, well, I don't have anything to say about it or them that I can say on social media. I mean, Vox is like just as bad, if not worse, an organization, but okay, go off, King. So I just want to point out these people are so incredibly sheltered from reality. They think that losing a job, especially a job that was probably like the most comfy job you could have, like you get to play video games, you get to write about it, and you get to travel to various like conventions and stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like hard work at all.
No.
So,
Well,
I think that what?
Oh, I was going to say, as I just mentioned, Alyssa Mercanti is still represented by Gawker Media Group, and I need to check to see if they're affiliated with Rolling Stone, because I think that even though she doesn't technically work for that company anymore, she's still represented by the union that is affiliated with that company, and Ubisoft footed the bill for her to go over to Europe, to Italy specifically, to be part of this Access Media event to boost some new Ubisoft city builder game kind of thing. So yeah, it never ends.
No.
It's such a crazy situation that
I just want to say that when you act like losing your job is like somebody died, I can only assume that you've never had anyone actually die in your life.
Right. Or anybody that, and even if they did, it wasn't somebody that you actually directly cared about.
Yeah. I mean, not to make this about me, but like a week on Tuesday of this week, I learned that my oldest friend, who I had known since I was like 3 years old, so like over 50 years, or almost 50 years, about 50 years, died. He died, and they're going to have because his family can't afford to, put him in a coffin and bury him. They're going to cremate him, and there's going to be like a celebration. Sorry, there's going to be a life celebration in 2 weeks from today, which means I'm not going to be able to do a show in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's like, and that's what it's like. Like, you should get a real job. The thing that's funny about this too is that people who do games journalism as a job, they don't do any journalism or any kind of desk job, any kind of cubicle job. You don't do you realize that the only reason why you can even have a job like that is because there are people doing real work, like laying cables and setting up power lines, running like the energy and the construction and the roads and like plumbing. The only reason why you can have desk job, you have to like, don't take that for granted is all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I think these people
they stand on the shoulders of giants and a whole bunch of other systems that make humanity actually move forward. But like I always say I have hope for humanity, but I lack faith in society, because society can be, controlled for, basically the things that we're seeing, and it loses the whole grasp of what humanity is even, to begin with.
Yeah.
Because it's got this weird kind of idea of, because as you said, they haven't faced any real adversity or anything like that. They haven't actually had to triumph in their life through a legitimate struggle. They've lived life on easy mode, and so they have a very detached view on reality, and because they see themselves as somehow being ultra important, they don't realize that all the things that they get in their privileged situations are at the expense of all the people that prop up the state of reality for things like that to even exist. It's how women got introduced into middle management jobs, by way of creating HR departments and like putting them in the marketing team, putting them in PR, putting them, the hiring, firing, all the stuff that they just needed a set of hands for, that they didn't need somebody incredibly skill based or technical or you know, like anything that actually involved the workings of the day. And so a lot of that was the stuff that ultimately fueled into those whisper networks and everything that,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, they do not understand the actual state of reality in any way, shape, or form. And so when their little snow globe gets shaken ever so slightly, they act like the world is ending. And it's like, this isn't even like, you know, this is far from world ending. It's not even, you know, detrimental to your life. This is a moment to build some character, Billy. You suck. You lost. Go get a
Yeah.
new fucking job, you know? Like,
Well,
figure it
yeah,
out.
just get some perspective, put down the pills.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I just wanted to say that about the absolute state of game journalism. This is like a long time coming, and I am glad that it's here. But I got a super chat, and then I got to move on to the next story. So Zaranx gave us $2. Thank you, Zaranx, and he says, "Deserve rearing its head and doing a lot of work." Thank you. Yes, indeed, it is. Hey, Toasty with the Mosty in the Rumble chat. Hello. And I also saw a comment from someone that I wanted to respond to. Heavenly Jester says, I think content creators are the future. You can get a bit more personal with them versus journalists, and usually you enjoy the personality and usually don't talk about politics. Yes, we try not to, but this is like, you know, I think that you can't. Okay, here's the thing about politics, because this is like, and I don't want to talk about this drama that's been going on recently with Razor Fist and Smash JT and John Delarose and all them. But one thing that I think that has to be understood by people like Smash JT is that you cannot escape the politics. You have to face it, because you may not be interested in political things, but political things are interested in you, and you have to be involved. It doesn't mean that you have to be preachy or force it on other people, but you have to know what's going on and why. None of these things exist in a vacuum. All of it is linked together, whether you like it or not. So you do. If there's one thing that I will say that those guys are right about, in terms of like John Delarose, the guys at Fandom Pulse, Jonathan Trent, is that the politics matters. You can't just say, I don't want politics in my thing, because you are putting it in there by even when you say you don't want it. It's there no matter what. So you might as well make it the good politics, like the stuff that is going to be like, you know, promoting the most freedom, the most choice for people. You know, it's like, I believe politics is a vehicle for me to give people the freedom to do the good, because they need to be free in order to do good things. Because if you're being forced to do good things, it's not good. You're just being forced to do it. So we have to like acknowledge that politics is real. You can't ignore it. It's in everything. It was always in everything. The only issue is that it's the method by which it's sort of like nudged at us. That's what people are usually. That's usually what they mean when they say I don't want politics in my stuff. But it's not correct in terms of like how you are framing it. It's not quite right. And what you should say is, because the thing is, the reason why they have to push this on you is because it isn't real. Like, it's sort of like they're trying to like gaslight you into thinking this is reality. You know, this is why like you'll see like I don't know, all this like trans ideology everywhere on the internet and in the news and on social media and stuff. But then you go outside your door and you don't see any trannies anywhere, because like they're creating an artificial reality that they want you to agree with, so that, you know, you'll then follow suit. And next thing you know, you go from please just sort of like accept us for who we are to please turn your kids gay.
Right.
And here's how you do it, right? So like, and so what you have to do is you have to acknowledge that there are constant forces trying to get you to do things you don't want to do, and you have to be aware of it, and it is political, and there's no avoiding that, right?
Right.
So,
I think
go ahead.
I think for some people, you know, there's this idea that if I don't have to, you know, like they're only willing to be as comfortable with the ideas of what is affecting their reality as they are comfortable, you know, grasping within their reach. And when you go and say, yeah, no, like this is actually a thing, you just have to, you know, want it's much like an ostrich sticking its head in the sand. They're like, yeah, but if I don't look at it to that depth, then it doesn't. That's not actually affecting the situation. It's like, no, it is still affecting the situation. The more that you bury your head in the sand about it, the more it's actually going to undermine you and overwhelm you.
The worst thing you can do is try to ignore it. Actually,
right.
You know, it's even if acting on it just means I'm not going to give them my money,
right,
which is the easiest thing you can do.
Generally speaking,
then you're still acting on it though. So,
right. Because you almost, in a sense, you become a useful idiot in that regard. And then I think that we are currently living in a culture that is embedded in the surface of things. You know, when you look at the extremes of the far left and even the far right, they are symbiotic of each other. They're both terrible for different reasons in different ways, but they kind of symbiotically, you know, it's kind of like how we talk about politics, like whether it's left wing or right wing, it's still attached to the same bird, you know.
I don't really agree with that, but
well, I understand, but
I have my own. Well, I have a different view because I think
right. But I
also
think
an oversimplification.
Right. Well, it can be, but I'm just saying that much like wrestling, behind closed doors, you know, where the lobbying goes, you know, strange whales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think that to them is more important than a political, you know, someone actually having political nuance within their life, and so they want to gravitate towards it not actually being a lot of people who have divergent perspectives and viewpoints being able to have conversations that might bring up things that are a little bit distasteful in all directions, right? And so like we all have blind spots and this and that, and we don't even have to agree on things 100%. I mean, I think part of the reason you and I have such good conversations here is because we do have very unique perspectives, and we have different takes on things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I respect you. I like you. You know, like we are able to just continue being friends and have conversations, you know, weekend to weekend, and you know, sporadically throughout the week here and there. That, you know, even if we don't agree, it's like iron sharpening iron, and instead of that happening, instead of people remaining sharp, we all become you know, dull, blunted tools that you know, can't actually do the thing that they were even created for, and so it just becomes this thing that allows people to be easily led by those systems that they've closed themselves off from, because you know that whole ostrich and, you know, burying its head kind of aspect. It's like, well, if I just act like it's not there, then I don't have to worry about it at that level. But it's it's a delusional, blissful kind of fantasy that you can just ignore it and it goes away. You know, it's a very, very childlike way of looking at things.
Well, all I would say is like, just, you know, don't be afraid to like learn a little bit about what all of this stuff means, and it actually helps you. You'll feel much freer. So, but look, I got to read some more because I want to comment on and get into the rest of these stories. So, Heavenly Jester also said, this is exactly why I don't want the pendulum to swing to the right, because then we will go back to the 90s/2000s where Pokemon is satanic. This is coming from a Catholic. So the only thing I'm going to say to that, and this is something else I think that should be addressed here, is that the difference between like right-wingers talking about like, you know, this is porn or this is gooning or this is satanic, is that they don't have any power. They can't actually do anything. Like when Jack Thompson back in the day was talking about Doom and Mortal Kombat, what happened? The entire industry clowned on him, and he didn't even want to like change the games. Jack Thompson didn't say, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and like get a job working at Bally Midway, and I'm going to work on Mortal Kombat games, and behind the scenes I'm going to change Mortal Kombat to make it like what I think it should look like, right? He didn't say I'm going to go work at id Software and change Doom, or I'm going to give them really bad reviews because I'm like a highly accredited journalist. So when the right when they have a problem with something, the only thing they can do is basically give their opinion and say that, like Melanie Mack, she'll be like, well, that's just like goon material. And yeah, I think that she's incredibly inconsistent. She cherry picks what she wants to like, and then demonizes what she doesn't like. But at the end of the day, Melanie Mack has absolutely no impact on what I play. She can't change what I'm going to do with my money. So it's kind of a meaningless thing to get upset about because people are going to have opinions on things, right?
Yeah.
But the difference is that when the left does it, they get a job in the company and then they start changing it from the inside. And look at Mortal Kombat now. It doesn't look anything like what it used to. It's completely like, the fatalities are still there and they're gory.
It looks like Kim Bel-Air in
the sex appeal's gone.
Yeah, it looks like Kim Bel-Air in a motocross costume,
When the left takes issue with something, they transform it. They go in and they change it because they believe in top-down control. That's what they believe in, and they have basically controlled the culture for like 100 years. Seriously, they have controlled the culture for 100 years, and it's only become more and more radical over time. Okay, like you can find movies from the 90s that have woke elements in them that we would overlook or ignore because it wasn't as obvious or lazy or in your face as it is today. But it only got to this point today because we were allowing it yesterday. When people that are conservative complain, they don't change anything. They just complain. So you can just shrug and say, whatever. So I'm not really concerned about, people are going to say that Pokemon is satanic. They do it now. Nobody gives them any air. Who cares? You can have whatever opinions you want. And I think I would treat leftists the same way if they weren't trying to get jobs in companies to change things and that those companies weren't hiring them and letting them do it. Yeah. What the Kim Bel-Air, essentially they engage in what? Shakedowns. They go into your business, like you're a deli in New York, and they're like, would be a shame if something would have happened to your business if you don't change it and make it more diverse and inclusive. And that's what they do. That's their tactic. People on the right don't do that. The worst they do is, again, they complain.
I think that, I think that the ideologies in either extreme, as I was saying, they have their own weird ways of kind of ending up at the same end goal of authoritarianism, regardless what you want to call it. It's authoritarianism. It's top-down control schemes.
Yes, and I think there are people that want to ban things.
Yeah.
And I think that they can want to, and if they start to do something, I think that makes them leftists. Because leftists operate top-down. That's what it's all about, okay? Leftism is essentially using power. So some people that are leftists are like woke SJW types, but some of them are monarchist types. Some of them are white nationalists. Some of them are, straight up actual neo-Nazis, but they're all leftists. That's what I'm saying. Hitler was a leftist and Stalin was a leftist. Just because they fought each other doesn't mean that they didn't have the same beliefs. They just thought they should be in charge. Right. So that's when the SJWs eat each other. That's natural. That's what it always does. So in my opinion, it's not really, it becomes extreme when you start saying these are the things that we have to do to control other people's behavior. But I think that makes them, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes them leftist. And there could be different degrees of that, maybe where you draw the line. But ultimately, when you start saying, I'm going to take this from you because I know what's good for you more than you know what's good for yourself, then you are a leftist. Congratulations, because that's what they do. And that's just it. It's just a descriptive term. Right. So that's
I just because I'm actually doing a show with Heavenly Gesture this afternoon. Will be the debut of our first Jester's Act episode. I believe we're going to do that at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Feel free to correct me if I've got the time wrong in the chat. But yeah,
look, if anybody in the chat disagrees with me or they want to talk about it, you have the open invitation. Come on my show anytime you want. I just want you to understand it. Make sure you understand where I'm coming from, because when people hear these terms, they have kind of an assumption in their mind about it. And it's really hard to shake.
Yeah, no, I think that I always go back to Trump, the same people that voted Trump in the first time were the same people that voted in Obama, and they went through years of hope and change, and all they could cling on to was hope because all they had left was change, right? And because everything got completely fucked, and people are not necessarily about, well, in this most recent election, Trump winning again was because it wasn't because of some ultimate kind of red hat society being so widespread. It was because the conversation was actually being talked about ideals and concerns of the everyday American, right? And so there are, I support the concept of make America great again, and I find Trump to be an interesting kind of character. He's much like any other president in certain ways. He certainly has his own unique qualities, but I don't absolve him of actually, like the promises made, promises kept. It's like, well, I want to see certain things come from that, and you do see in the wider MAGA culture, as it were, because of that, there is pushback to what he's doing. Whereas, the last administration, with its stranglehold that it had, for the time that it did and the way that it achieved it, it's fall in line, get the NPC new DLC download, and go about your algorithmic logical programming, or be prepared to be crushed. And so, it's one of those things where, like I say, I think at the extremes, if you get to the point to where, and I know people joke about God King Emperor Trump and all that kind of stuff, because it's kind of funny and it pisses people off. But for the most part, I don't think that's why people supported President Trump in attaining the office again this time. That, and there was also a lot more of a watchful eye on all the other shit that where those 17 million voters go from the previous election cycle, right? It's almost as if they didn't exist, like they were just like a 3 a.m. ballot drop that happened. But it's definitely one of those things where I certainly don't want to have censorship for any reason. Ultimately, I just want to be able to say, you put something out and let the market kind of, meet you where it wants to. And if that is, I'd rather just turn around and walk away from this shit, then you bear, the responsibility of the investment in that situation. It's not that the world has failed you. It's you failed, to actually speak to an audience because you tried to do all this other stupid bullshit. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, like censorship for whatever reason still ultimately amounts to authoritarianism. And
sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it is. Yeah. All right. So let's get
Press
into
on. Indeed.
Gonna move on to the next story here. So I got a Rumble rant from Toasty with the Mosty 69, gives us $5. Thank you. And she says YouTube is gay.
Indeed.
Yes, it is.
YouTube is an exploitation
and it's not,
ghetto.
It's the bad kind of gay.
Right.
All right. So let's get into the next story. We're going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. All right. So there was a delay.
I got to take a victory lap.
Predicted.
Yep.
From its initially planned fall 2025 release to a May 26, 2026 release, as announced on May 2nd, 2025, which stems from a combination of ambitious development goals and internal challenges at Rockstar Games. These are according to Rockstar. So, take that with a grain of salt. Rockstar has a history of publishing deadlines to meet its high quality standards, a practice that often results in globally successful games, but requires extended timelines. The development of GTA 6 has been particularly complex due to its revolutionary vision for open world gaming, compounded by workplace reforms and disruptions from the global pandemic, which they're still
workplace reforms, DEI hires, and an entire ideological shift within the company.
Is that what you think it is? Or do we know this for sure?
I know that for sure. I mean, like I I did not get hired by them specifically because
Yeah.
I always say, people always say, I think you said the wrong word there. No, an ethically beige woman told me under no intents or purposes would I be hired even for QA testing, when I was more than qualified for the design team role that I was being, offered, everything like that. That was There is so much evidence as to what happened within Rockstar. Uh, if people don't, if you haven't noticed, or if you have noticed that it looks like the thumbnail from today looks vaguely familiar, it's because it's an updated version of what we put out on this show back in 2024 on September 17th. It was our 15th episode. And the only thing that I changed was I shifted the alignment a little bit, and I actually made sure I had the right font this time. But I just added in the word officially, because back on September 17th, I had said at that point, because that was right when the PS5 Pro was coming out. I went back and I watched the episode again, or at least that part of it. And what I was saying was, we're getting to the end of this life cycle and everything like that. There's not really a high attachment rate on consoles to begin with. And I think that, with this PS5 Pro coming out right now, it just seems to me that it would be wiser for them to try to optimize around that and try to sell it as a killer app. But with all these console prices rising up and everything like that, that is still taking place and set to go, even, like Xbox is getting ready to do a price raise. And Sony just did theirs. Of course, the Switch 2, we've talked about everything that's going to be part of that. Console gaming is becoming more niche based, and so I think that this officially shifting into 2026 now is, at the time I had said that they were wanting to make a killer app for PlayStation 5 Pro, and just the staging of it, they would probably need to have a killer app for it, give people a reason. But along with that, I was mentioning how Grand Theft Auto kind of has acted almost as a second party kind of title, where they've been leading on PlayStation systems since the PS2 era of Grand Theft Auto games. But that the world has shifted so much that they can't do what they've always done, which is put the game out on console and then a year and a half later end up putting it out on PC. I think that there's very good likelihood that day and date, whenever this releases, and I jokingly said I can't wait to make the 2027 version of this thumbnail for a third time to one of my friends. I think that there is some aspect of, we need to have this ready to go on PC day and date. And there's also, perhaps because of the winds of change that are happening, they might be trying to roll back some of that overt woke part of the game that was going to be there, and they're going to try to keep it as covert, because they're going to try to keep everything that they've built into it as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
But the people already have a bad taste in their mouth about GTA 6, because I think in no small part to not only our effort speaking about what's going into this thing and what's going on about it and the company in general, but all the people that are actually voicing their thoughts and their concerns about how Rockstar is just a brand label in and of itself. And when we talk about their issues with hires, it's because they got rid of all the people who had the talent, skill, and ability to bring in all the hacktivists and all the other kind of stuff that really took hold fully by 2020. So that is, I think, a larger degree of what's going on here. And I mean, a lot of people be like, well, they just want to make sure they put out the best game possible. And it's like, yeah, but I also think that they want to make sure that they actually want to deliver a Grand Theft Auto that is going to be as successful as it possibly can be. And they can't do that by relying on PlayStation and or Xbox alone at this point in time, because they are not the mass majority of the way people play their gaming media these days. It's PC. You have to deal with that. And, I don't see people's money issues going away in a year's time from now.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know a reason to buy a PS5, let alone a PS5 Pro at this point in time. And
No.
they've really got to find a way to make that some kind of value connection. But at the time that we were talking about this, I said that Grand Theft Auto the full version of Grand Theft Auto was going to sell $200. And I didn't quite get into the detail at that time because I think that, because we all heard about the $100 part, but everybody's like, well, I haven't been confronted by anybody since then about like, what do you mean by $200? But I've gone into that in other episodes where I said, they've got Grand Theft Auto Plus. And so it's $100 for the initial buy-in that they want. And now they don't have to take the heat of that because of Nintendo and Xbox raising prices right now. So I think that that's also part of it, is they're trying to save face. And at that point in time, the market will kind of be that. But along with that initial $100 that it's going to cost to purchase this game, it's also the $100 a year to actually have those full feature sets that you only be able to get by being subscribed to their live service model system through the Grand Theft Auto Plus monthly service charge. So,
yeah,
I think there are the things are not in their favor. And if that Anata, if I remember correctly, is how it's pronounced. If that game comes out,
Ananta.
Yeah. But that's when we watched that video, I said, I think this is my GTA 6, and I hope that they are able to beat it out of the gate and just be such an amazingly great, absurd thing that's just focused on fun and just whatever it is that, by the time GTA 6 comes about, we, much like many other people, have done enough to expose the rot that is within the company that's been fueling it during this whole development time. I don't think that GTA 6, I could be wrong. I know it's going to be, definitely successful. I just don't think that it's going to be quite what GTA 5 has been for 13 years,
Oh, maybe. Yeah, probably. I mean, from what I'm reading, the Rockstar insiders are describing this development as development hell, and there's also an identity crisis, potentially making the game less edgy than previous GTA titles. So that's a very, very bad sign. and on top of that, we had this massively increased budgets, massively increased pricing. I think like these AAA studios are probably too invested or too far along in the process of developing this game and games like this to change course now. They have to just finish it. And I think that if they think that people are going to pay $80 or whatever it's going to cost for this game, I think they got another thing coming, especially if they were also the same people that probably wanted us to go through a recession, because of all the money printing that was going on, and they don't want us to try to reduce the debt and the deficit, which also involves everyone in America tightening their belts,
right,
and tariffing other countries. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to pan out really well for Rockstar. I have some concerns,
right,
but we got to move on to the next story. I just want to say, somebody in the chat, Master Goa said, Brian, thank you. The satanic panic didn't ruin our games, but feminism did. The satanic panic was merely fearful speech. I've been saying that for 10 years. Been saying it for 10 years, is that, what damages something is not what somebody says, it's what somebody does. And when people start doing things in your industry to your things, then you're going to have a problem. And and we have to be able to treat the feminism like a cult, because that's what it is. And then you will see that this
that is the satanic panic.
It is.
Right. Tipper Gore's the one who's behind the explicit content advisory warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, we got to move on to the next story, but let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. All right, so Daniel Vavra is in the news. You might know him as the face behind Kingdom Come Deliverance. And a thing that I kind of suspected, but I didn't really talk about it much. But this is a big issue that I want to use. I want to use this to talk about. We're already at 12:10, and I got 2 more stories after this. So we'll see how we do. So Daniel Vavra, the creative director of Kingdom Come Deliverance and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, recently addressed the inclusion of LGBT scenes in the upcoming RPG, a decision that sparked controversy and positioned the game within the ongoing culture war in gaming. In a statement issued on January 17, 2025, Vavra admitted that the inclusion of same-sex romance options was partly motivated by a desire to avoid getting canceled. Reflecting on Warhorse Studios' frustration with being repeatedly targeted by both sides of the cultural divide, at least that's what they claimed. I don't think that's what was happening, but whatever. He expressed exhaustion with the polarized discourse, noting that the studio aimed to sidestep further backlash after the first game faced criticism in 2018 for a lack of diversity. That sounds like it's coming from one fucking side, guy. With some argued was historically inaccurate for 15th century Bohemia, which it was. I mean, if you go to Finland right now, if you go to Finland, guess what? It's all white people. And that's fine. Like, I don't see why that's a problem. I guess I'm a white supremacist. Vavra emphasized that the sequel features a wide range of ethnicities and LGBT content to align with broader inclusivity, despite the game reportedly being banned in Saudi Arabia as a result of the LGBT content. The admission has fueled mixed reactions. While some praise Warhorse for attempting to navigate inclusivity, which I think is stupid and you shouldn't do it, others criticize Vavra's history, pointing to his vocal support for Gamergate and his recent mockery of Dragon Age the Veilguard as evidence of inconsistent stances. Yes. Launch on February 4th, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 received overwhelmingly positive reviews, but Vavra's focus on negative scores and derogatory comments from supporters in the replies highlighted the divisive reception. The studio's broader goal, as Vavra explained, was to create a historically accurate yet inclusive game free of what he calls propaganda, balancing diverse political views amongst his writers while avoiding the culture war spotlight that has plagued other gaming releases. All right, so first of all, that is propaganda.
With this game. It's been a roller coaster ride with this game. I understand.
If you put gay shit in there, even if it's optional, you don't get to say that's not propaganda, especially because that just did not exist in Bohemia. And the real issue though is that you establish the canon in the first game because you're playing the same character. It's not like an RPG where you get to make whatever character you want and then you can decide, if they're gay or not or whatever. Like, I think that the problem is that you establish the canon in the first game and now you're messing with the canon. And I think that's what, if people have an issue with that, that would be rightfully so. Did gay people exist in 15th century Bohemia? Sure. But they probably stayed in the closet because it wasn't popular. Because it was like an overtly, religious society. And the thing is that most societies were like that. And most today are still like that. So the inclusion of like a gay character or a gay sex scene or whatever, I think that you can't say that. You can put it in their game if you want to, but you don't get to say that that's not propaganda, because it is. You are normalizing, to use the words of Yuri Bezmenov, you are normalizing a certain mindset, and you're doing so in a game that you are claiming is historically significant or historically accurate. Just like Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's the same thing. They claim this is based in history, even if it has like some supernatural elements or whatever. But if you say this is based on a historical time period with real people that really existed or a real culture that you're trying to emulate, then if you change things like that, then you are in fact you're creating propaganda. And it's I'm not even saying that as an insult. I'm just saying as a descriptive term, that's what it is. So you don't get to, he's trying to basically do two things at once. He's trying to satisfy the wokes without offending the fans. And the problem is that he's upset both people now. Because
right.
or the wokes take it as a win because they get the nudge that they wanted.
Well, I think there's so much this guy right here. This game has been another kind of incitement point, and it extends in a lot of weird ways. I'm at the point I got a free copy of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, from Epic a while back when they were doing the push towards this game. But I haven't actually played it as of yet because I'm just so busy doing all this other stuff online and everything like that. But I think that ultimately, it's what we talk about in terms of if you're trying to make something for everyone, you ultimately end up with something that satisfies no one ultimately. And I think that, at this point in time, he's been pretty inconsistent throughout this whole roller coaster ride of events. I think he was trying to just downplay some of the stuff, and now he, comes to the cross to bear of like, well, I did it for this reason, and now because I think that, I'm not uh I'm not afraid of diverging viewpoints and perspectives necessarily being put in role playing games, but when there is kind of the historical aspects to it, I understand why some of that concern was there. Again, it's that whole thing about speak with your wallet. If you don't want to invest in it, all well and good, but I think that this is I think that this was a game that has become ultimately, kind of this thing that everybody's trying to pick apart. At first, like people were trying to say that this was going to be a win for games that don't have this kind of stuff in there. But then ultimately, as time has transpired, we see that actually, in fact, elements of it were there. I don't think they were necessarily quite as extreme as some people have made it out to be, and there was certainly definitely a level of fictionalization that went into the game experience itself, but it includes the codex, as I understand, that actually kind of tries to give you the actual what it is, or what it was, rather than what the game is portraying. But at this point in time, Daniel Vavra, I'm done with his kind of thing on it. If people still want to play this game, and they're happy with it, all well and good.
I mean,
I could really, to me, it's just
sometimes these games are just a hit regardless.
Right.
And I bet that if there's like a study done later on, like, because usually sometimes they do these polls or they conduct studies to find out what choices people made in various role-playing games. And I bet there'll be a study that'll come out at some point where they'll find out how many people chose the gay option, and I bet it's a tiny.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's insignificant to the point to where you could argue it's like, well, why even have it
in there?
Right. Especially when you've already established an audience and you can build around that core audience, and word of mouth and all that kind of stuff will fuel it, hopefully beyond the initial group. But I think when you try to cast your net too wide, it gets out of your control, and you can't actually get anything because you've ultimately tried to get too much too soon, satisfying too many things, and it's an impossible situation to ultimately navigate. And that's why I say ultimately, if you are a creator of something, stay true to the story that you're telling, that you want to tell. And if you want to have a story that kind of diverges and this and that, then make a story about that. But if you are going to be putting things in more historic kind of terms, then you really need to do what you can to actually portray that to the fullest. But it's also one of those things too, where it's like, there are people that were going after like, oh, it's a pedo game and this and that. And it's like, no, it's a different reality at that point in time where, people were getting married at 12 and they only lived to like, you live to your.
I mean, I think you can like get in the weeds trying to find
right.
You can like tag on. Look, I will say the final word on this because I got to move on.
Yeah.
I don't think the game is woke per se. That's probably why it's overall successful. I think that Daniel Vavra compromised on his principles.
He's not fully corrupted, but he did compromise by his own admission.
I think he was being a coward, and he should not have been a coward. I don't think that he's like. I think that the way he sees it, and this is the thing about people who are like, I don't want to deal with the political. I don't want the politics in my games. See, their default setting on that is that, oh, I'm okay with whoever. And so they have to work really hard to remain moderate, even when some of what they're moderating in between is radical, right?
Right.
So so he's trying to be moderate, So he's basically saying, I'm going to allow this thing, but this thing that he's allowing is radical, like
Right.
for what he was doing, and he's compromising his principles instead of just, stick out your guns, fuck these people, let them talk shit about you. Your game's going to sell like hotcakes anyway. And yeah, it is selling regardless, but I bet that if that wasn't in there, it would have sold even more.
Right.
Probably.
I mean, but I will just say, on that regard, I think that even if it kind of goes outside of your specific tastes and flavors, doesn't immediately mean anybody that is willing to play the game, even still at this point in time, whatever. I don't think that automatically makes someone woke.
No,
and that's because that's what I'm saying.
Like,
in terms of,
I think that sometimes woke games are good despite the fact that they're woke. Like,
right,
I own Baldur's Gate 3. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is great, but it's definitely got some subversive, progressive shit in it.
Right,
and
right.
I'm, and even Razorfist said that. Like, Razorfist is a pretty like harsh judge on video games, especially modern ones. And he said, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is fantastic. And yeah, it's got all this bullshit in it, but you don't have to do any of that. And you can literally kill everybody. Like, you can just, you don't like this guy, he's annoying, just kill him in the game. And it won't change anything. So,
and I think to some degree that kind of goes back to what Jester was saying in his earlier thing, because you don't want to go and paint everybody that's just outside of your comfort level as the extreme. There are there are polarized extremes, and there's a whole bunch of people in the middle that ultimately just want the capacity to enjoy things, based on their actual merits. And it's all this other stuff that gets woven in there unnecessarily that causes a lot of stuff. And some people are able to just kind of be like, yeah, that's in there. But ultimately it's an option of the thing. Because much like Baldur's Gate, if you play the game straight, and I do mean that, like, in all
most
terms.
people did. Most
right,
people
right,
played
right.
the game.
Right.
Played a white male paladin straight.
Right. And but that's the thing, is it's like
white male human paladin straight.
A lot of people will, as you said, you give Baldur's Gate a pass because it's about the way that you play through it. And there have been certain people that are like, well, even having that in there, it makes it this extreme thing. And it's definitely a thing. There was compromise there, sure, but I don't think that just because you picked up the game and played through it, and possibly more than likely just play through as a straight option, if you never encounter any of that stuff in a game that's based kind of around the concept of role playing, I watched Will play it for a couple hours, running his chat when he was doing game sessions with it. But ultimately, it was just kind of like a game that it's a lot of waiting around, waiting for NPCs to talk, and it's a very it takes a certain kind of amount of time and dedication to even get into a game like that. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's not going to please. You're never going to please everyone, and so that's where it's try to go for the actual audience that you do seek to have, that you can actually speak to tell the story that you're after.
Right.
But if you are going to have things in there that might even diverge from that, I don't think that immediately makes it completely the opposite end of the spectrum. It's just I'm from a game design background myself, or at least development in various forms, and so I and I've had my own weird kind of intersection with the stuff that spun out from this game just this week, and we might have time to get into that. If we don't, oh well. But it's because I don't think that just because I've heard a lot of people like Jay Viper. He was one of the people who came out and at the beginning of this whole thing and was talking about how a lot of this stuff was kind of getting misread and spun a little bit.
What stuff?
Well, some of the things that we're seeing is like, oh, well, this is a gay scene right here. the picture of the two guys in the lake where they're actually being peeping toms and stuff like that. So like there was there was an invention around it, and then there was some people that bought into the spectacle rather than the substance of things. And so I think that this has this game has been completely undermined through the compromise, because it has brought out people that have wanted to kind of saber rattle for one thing or another. But it all comes down to the consistency of the creative direction, and he has been entirely inconsistent. And so even someone like Jay, who was trying to point out the nuance and like the context of things in the beginning, about how the character, who historically was a younger age in the game, there actually is a scene specifically talking about how he's effectively in his mid 30s and all this kind of stuff. So I think that there was people there that they don't want to look at the context, because as long as it's hitting their saturation point of the content that they can glean something from, then they're going to just do that. Like I said, this thing kind of ultimately got into my Discord this week, because somebody who's very much been Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is woke, and if you like it, then you're a complete wokey. Like John Delaraz came into my Discord yesterday after the whole thing that happened with Smash JT this week, and I do not get along with John Delaraz. I do not have any goodwill towards him at this point in time. I do not want him in my Discord for anything. I banned him after he came in there and ended up causing like this whole thing. If you want to look into it, go watch the stream I did yesterday with Toasty, where I just went in, and I could have handled the situation in the future. I would handle it differently, because I thought that I had kind of shut it down, but ultimately he ended up just saying whatever he was going to say, painted himself as I'm a victim here, blah, 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 blah. I'm not trying to censor John Delaraz. I don't want him deplatformed or anything like that, but he is a very distasteful character. I liken him to the Joker, because it's hard to get like a real beat on him, because it seems like he's willing to do what he needs to achieve his own ends, and what those are, I'm not completely clear on, but it does seem like if there is the thing that Jester was talking about in terms of an extreme viewpoint that goes the other direction, that's it. That's the kind of mentality that and so I would not welcome JDA into my Discord, but he, as you know, I have pretty much open links that anybody can just join in fairly easily. And I had just gotten done talking about how he's kind of this inconsistent asshat on Old White Road. And after I left to go do the stream with Toasty, a link to my Discord got put there. He came into the Discord and then continued to try to spin the whole thing. Oh, I'm just here to, be the nicest guy on the internet and all. He was doing, some narrative cunt trolling. And that's, he's a very, what they did to JT this week, him and his co-host, that was a hostage situation. Yeah, that was sprung on JT in a terrible way. I've been in creative settings where the person that I was doing the show with wanted to do that to a guest who does not like me. And I was like, no, you have to let them know that I'm going to be there before they even arrive. I will be in the studio. And then a few weeks later, when I was going to be the quote unquote guest, I was now the person who was going to get shanghaied, but I found out about it right before the show began. So I was like, you have the show that you want to have. I'm just not going to be there, because I was not in for this when you wanted to pull this on someone else. I'm certainly not here for this when you're trying to pull it on me. And so I just don't, I find John Delaraz to be widely disingenuous and overly judgmental and a complete asshole. And so I say JDA stands for judgmental, disingenuous asshole, right? And I don't expect you to necessarily agree with me on that take, and that's perfectly fine. But my interactions with him, I did a live stream with him back in October on Words of Paradise for a Countercast episode. And I played the referee between him and Leon at the time because they were beefing. And then through the course of kind of knowing him on the periphery since that time, I've gotten to the point to where I want absolutely nothing to do with the guy, but he's trying to champion, his whole thing recently was he was trying to sit here and get Smash JT to admit that he's woke because of this whole Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 thing. And JT's just like, it's like, look, the guy's obviously inconsistent. As time's gone by, the people that were willing to kind of stand by and say, let's not overanalyze this too much, have now just said, I'm not even going to try to it's whatever at this point. That we're all just kind of like, let's walk away from this. I think that this whole thing kind of got blown out of proportion in some ways, and widely misread for a variety of reasons. Most of them do because of Daniel Vavra himself and his inability to just be, able to be consistent through his design and development process. And so ultimately, I have no love lost for Daniel Vavra. I have no love lost for JDA. I have, I have not gotten the second game. Don't plan on getting the second game. Never even would have got the first one if I didn't get it for free. So, it's a very interesting thing where I think that anybody that stands outside of JDA's perspective, he immediately goes and tries to say, you're this extremist. And I think that in and of itself only amplifies extremism, and I don't want a world where we have like these two hard shifting kind of grinding gears, because all the people that are in the middle are the ones that are getting milled up and turned into powder. Basically, you either become the thing and then you reflect, in direct opposition, or you learn to just kind of be brave in the face of adversity. Like the whole idea of freedom of expression isn't about the things that you agree with. It's about being able to have things that you care about because you're able to deal with the aspects of things that you don't agree with and still being able to just carry on and move forward and live your life. That's, I think that we live in very interesting times where certain things are getting lost to the overall arching kind of ideologies. But anyways,
You've gone for a little while.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I get it. You managed to weave in the JDA thing, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I would have more to say on that, but I really.
Oh yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Like I said,
so
it's
I got to move on.
I'm a little too in deep now.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, so the issue, as far as I'm concerned, with Daniel Vavra is not really like what he puts in the game, what he doesn't, but it's about like not being honest about it, because he was trying too hard not to rock the boat. And the problem is that you can't make a product for everybody. You're going to alienate some people. You might as well just stick to whatever you know. And if you want to make some game that's all about troons, go ahead and do it, and let's see how well it does. That's what I say, or whatever it is. You want to make a game about the struggle, like South of Midnight, go ahead. We'll see how well that does. But I think most people just want to play something fun, and I'm not into historical stuff personally. I prefer something that's a little bit more creative and takes more risks. I think history is like easy to draw from, but it's also like, it can be a little bit dull because it's sort of like grounded in reality a little too much for my taste. And I see video games as an opportunity to escape. But anyway, all right, let's get into the next story. So we have a couple stories about movies that I thought were, or TV, sort of our other media.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys heard about James Gunn's Superman. So I'm not wearing a Superman shirt today, but full disclosure, I love Superman. He's one of my favorite superheroes, and most of it comes down to like his moral code, which I think is what makes him unique in that way. Most people don't write characters like that. They usually, they usually play around with morality, or they make things gray, and people are like into that because they think that's cool. But I think that it's harder to write somebody who is like Superman. Okay. And that's why when somebody does it well, then I am more impressed. James Gunn, the last person I would have thought would have been like, good to do a Superman film, is, as we all know, helming the new Superman film, which I don't even know what it's called. It might just be called Superman. which is set to release on July 11th, 2025.
Yeah.
There's a lot of buzz about what the plot is going to contain. And there was a rumor that, well, first of all, Lex Luthor, which we already know, is being played by not Michael Rosenbaum. That's the guy who used Nick Holt, who is a great actor. I like him a lot. He was in X-Men First Class. He played Beast. You might know him from Fury Road. He played one of the guy that was like, It's a Lovely Day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Nicholas Holt's a good actor. I've seen him in some good stuff, and I like him. And he could make a good Luthor. He's kind of like got a bit of a vibe that is reminiscent of Eisenberg a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But who played him in I think it was like Man of Steel or something. Yeah. But that they dropped the ball on that. So this is the thing that I heard about. I'm just going to get into the rumors around the plot. And apparently these are confirmed rumors, okay? Lex Luthor's plan is to destroy Superman's reputation by using cancel culture and starting a hashtag called super shit. Hashtag super shit. They're actually going to have that in the movie, a Superman movie. And the people who the things he's using to destroy his reputation are going to be genetically modified apes that are online. This is the idea. This is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
About what they're doing with the plot. Yeah. Did you know about this?
Yeah, I've had a few conversations about
it. Internet trolls, basically, yes, internet trolls, but they're apes. So maybe they'll look like trolls. Maybe, and a lot of this, by the way, has to do with James Gunn injecting his own experience into the plot. So as you guys know, I think it was when James Gunn was doing he used to work for Troma. He probably still does. And Troma was like this, B-movie production company that did like these extremely low budget, super edgy things like Toxic Waste Avenger and some other ones. I mean, Kabuki Man, I think, was one. And they were often had a lot of, hyper violence, gore, sex. It was very, very Cannibal the Musical, I think, is one of theirs. I could be wrong about that. I think it is, though. I think it is.
For Trey and Matt, yeah, it is.
No, are they Troma though?
No. I can't remember if that was done. I know it was stuff that they were doing right as they were getting out of college. I can't remember. I could look it up because I actually.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look real quick. I don't want to get this wrong, but they're basically
got it on my Plex
disturbing
Discord.
Media. I know about Toxic Waste Avengers for sure, and a couple of other things, but it was all this super edgy stuff. And James Gunn got his first opportunity to make a film when he did Guardians of the Galaxy, which turned out to be a very good fit. And he did a good job. I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. But when that was going on, he was putting out very edgy tweets. This was when it was still Twitter. Where because again, he worked with Troma, which was already really edgy. So I think that he just has, I don't want to accuse him of something or not accuse him of anything, because I think what somebody says online is not, doesn't necessarily reflect who they are. But he got a lot of shit from people online. A lot. They tried to cancel him. They came after him. I think that it actually is why he lost his job at Marvel, was because of the tweets and the blowback. And so he ended up going over to DC and doing the original. He did the Suicide Squad, the not the original one, but the sequel remake one. I don't know. They just made another Suicide Squad and pretend like the previous one didn't exist. And I think he did that one because obviously he had Michael Rooker in there, who's a friend of his, and they're always doing stuff together. And so what is speculated here, and this might be true, is that his whole plot about the trolls trying to cancel Superman in his movie is because of his own experience with cancel culture in the movie. Yeah. And what is my issue with this is that this is how you're making something that is not going to stand the test of time, because you're basically making it relevant to today, which is a big thing that people do. They don't make things that are timeless. They're always thinking in this presentism kind of mindset where it's like, oh well, I got canceled, so I'm going to put this in my story, and so he does that, and I think this is really stupid. Now, somebody said that this might be
It was distributed by
setting up-
Trauma.
setting up Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah.
So Dean
Cannibals,
Domino says some people speculate the apes might be a way to bring in Gorilla Grodd somehow. I mean, I like Gorilla Grodd. He was great in the cartoons. I think voiced by Powers Booth. Awesome choice. Or yeah, it was Powers Booth that did the voice.
But no, Trauma did the distribution. They gave it a wider footprint
for Cannibal Musical.
For Cannibal Musical, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
They weren't necessarily the production, but they did do the distribution. So yeah, they were connected. Yes.
So that's what they're doing. So I mean, I wasn't interested anyway. Like I just don't think that we live in a time where we could get an authentic Superman film. Like there's just too much cynicism, there's too much nihilism, there's too much people are just like, Hollywood is a fucking mess. A lot of people have to go to jail. Like we just need like decent people in the business, and there are really not many. Like there's some, but not many. And I just don't think that we're in the right point. Our culture's too sick to like bring up something ideal. Like what we need is a new Sylvester Stallone, like a new one that makes a movie. Like in the 1970s when everything was really bad, like our economy was really bad and poverty was really bad, and there were all these problems, and there was all this all this various social issues going on. And the Cold War was going on. Sylvester Stallone made the original Rocky film because he strongly believed that we needed something optimistic, and that's what the original Rocky is. It's a really great movie, and he won the Oscar, and he had like no budget, no nothing. And that's another thing too. I'm going to get to this a little bit later. Like people are spending so much money on garbage right now, and I think that and then they're lamenting like that. Chara Sarazard or whatever her name is was lamenting, oh my God, the layoffs. Oh my God, real people, real lives are being impacted by this. People are getting fired. It's like, no, because there are people that are doing the work that are doing well. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we live in a time where a good Superman film could happen. So
not with James Gunn at the helm. I mean, he breed swapped the dog because he has that breed of dog. Dog's still white ultimately, which he's supposed to be, but it's completely different. It's supposed to be a lab, but he because he owns this breed of dog, he injects way too much of himself in it. Like, my dog needs to be represented. No, dude, just tell a fucking Superman story.
Yeah, that's his dog, right? That's not the white. It's supposed to be a white lab. You're right. That's Crypto. Yes. Yeah. I mean, granted, probably an alien dog, but nonetheless, should look like a white lab. So anyway, but I don't have a lot of time to stay on that, but I just wanted to mention that one really quick. Superman, ridiculous plot, confirmed rumors, supposedly.
Yeah, I had no hope for it to begin with, and this
me neither.
Confirms my suspicions that I had. So
speaking of things we don't have any hope for, so I also wanted to mention The Last of Us Season 2. So for anybody who played the game, you knew this was coming. But for people who didn't know, they were shocked to learn that Joel gets killed. So, spoilers for The Last of Us Season 2, as well as The Last of Us Part 2, the video game.
It's the least of us.
Yeah. So this has been divisive, to say the least, amongst viewers of the show, mirroring the reaction to the same event in the game. Fans express profound sadness and shock at Joel's brutal demise at the hands of Abby Anderson, with many taking to social media to share their grief. Posts on X captured sentiments like "I'm not okay" and "This broke me," reflecting the raw emotional impact of losing a beloved character. The show's adaptation, featuring Joel being killed in front of Ellie while Dina is present, a change from the game where Tommy was present, intensified the trauma for viewers as Dina's inclusion deepened the bond with Ellie through the shared loss. So I was wondering.
Yay.
Okay, so first of all, we knew this was going to happen. There was something about this I really want to say. Why did the show get made to begin with? And this is something that I'm going to propose. Okay, I think the reason why the show was made was because the story for the game did not go over well. If you look at the sales for The Last of Us Part 2 versus The Last of Us, and that's without looking at like, you know, when they remastered it and they like remastered it again, and then they remastered the second one, and then they remastered the first one
It's
again.
been remade 10 times.
Yeah, it's been remade a bunch of times.
10.
Right?
10
times.
10 times since the first game came out.
Yeah, and then there was like the PC
they put out a new
version
version roughly every 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, you know, I think that Neil Druckmann, he's never been interested in being in video games. He just used it as a launch pad to get. He wants to be this Hollywood guy. He was on a red carpet event, just standing there, like kind of dejected that people weren't taking pictures of him and this and that. Like he so wants to be a part of Hollywood that I have no interest in Heretic, the Intergalactic Blah, whatever the fuck that long ass pointless title is.
Intergalactic, the Prophet Heretic.
Yeah. I have no interest in the Least of Us 2. The way that they switched Abby up, because they're never going to find an Abby smash kind of woman unless they went and hired.
No, they just found an Abby that I'd like to smash because that girl's hot.
right. Because I mean, they would have had to hire Brock Lesnar's
I love my wife to death.
Right. But yeah, they would have had to cast Brock Lesnar's daughter, and I don't know if she's got the acting acumen.
She would actually be good. I've seen Brock Lesnar's daughter. Yeah,
yeah, she looks like Brock Lesnar wearing a wig.
Yeah. Or just Brock Lesnar. Yeah, why not?
Right.
Well, anyway, so like, yes, I think that you're right. I think that ultimately Neil Druckmann doesn't want to make video games. But here's another thing too. So what I think happened was Druckmann makes The Last of Us Part 2. It doesn't sell nearly as well as the first game. I think it was like 10% of the sales or something, right? And that's, again, not including all
came
of
out hot
the
and dropped off quickly
remakes
because of this scene, because people wanted more Joel, not
they were lied to. The game trailers made you think you were playing Joel. Like that was, but that wasn't the only thing. It was them killing Joel that did it.
Being subversive.
It was also the defense of that afterwards, where Neil Druckmann tries to convince and gaslight the audience into thinking, no, Joel was the villain of the first game.
Right.
And that's what he was trying to convince people to. No, he wasn't, because I played the game and I could see what it was about. And what you're doing is you're essentially attacking fatherhood itself, which is what the second game does. The first game in a vacuum is perfect. Like I think it's a great game. And I don't have any regrets for owning the I only own the original one and the one, I think, the remaster for the PlayStation 4.
I got the remaster for free. Yeah, I got the remaster.
Yeah, that's it. Like I know that they remade it again, but like that's it. But I watched an entire playthrough. I did it with Mike J, who I work with, and he played it, and I just sat on the stream with him and we talked about it, of the second game, and I was like, yeah, this is garbage. And what I think happened is he said, what these people, these plebs that play video games don't realize is that video games is art, and I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to get this made into a television show. And then I'm going to do it on the TV show, and the people who can appreciate the medium of television will give me the praise that I deserve, as opposed to those chud gamers that don't know, right? And it takes control. Like, first of all, video games should be about choice at the end of the day. That's what makes them different from any other medium. But even then, he takes your choices away from you. He puts you in a situation where in the second game, you lose Joel no matter what. You can't really change that, right? So he's doing that to you on purpose. And then in the show, you're even less engaged because you're just a passive viewer. And I think that a lot of people who never played the game watched the show and they were turned off by this too.
Right.
And they were like, so what this is because like the reason why is because the viewership of the show after Joel's death dropped by 20%.
Yeah.
And that they were very divided about it. Now, I'm a little bit of a mixed opinion because Pedro Pascal played Joel, and I didn't think he was good casting anyways.
No.
But that show was really trying to double down on the whole. It's essentially like video games are art. That's the argument that comes out of that.
Right.
And I think that there's truth to that, but I think that it's important for us to understand what these people, what progressives mean when they say art. It means that it has to be like politically relevant to their particular belief system in order for it to be considered art. It's not art simply because it's beautiful or because it talks about a universal experience that everybody understands or some like truth about reality, like that, you know, fathers are good or that there is such a thing as right and wrong, whatever, right? Or that life is beautiful. Like it can't be those things. So he basically does a complete inversion of that and says, no, actually life sucks. And it's, you know, like Ellie is a lesbian in a post-apocalyptic setting. She's completely useless. Like lesbians today are pretty useless because they don't make babies. But post-apocalyptic lesbians are extra useless. Like I don't, you know, it's funny because you almost want the showrunner from Andor who basically said, well, rape is just like, it's just like the American, it's what it is. It's like reality. Like you almost want him to have a conversation with the people who ran the show. But that was on purpose though. Like Ellie was not in anything sexual when the game started. And then they added the DLC for the first game. And I was like creeped the fuck out because they were both underage girls and they share a kiss. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So that's how you know this shit was getting really degenerate. Like I wouldn't blame the first game because I think they had different people, but I think from the DLC on, it was definitely a Druckmann thing. And this was always going to be the outcome, like what happened to Joel in the show. Yeah. And I think that this is because, like you said, he wants to get into Hollywood. He wants to make movies. He doesn't want to make video games, although he has another game coming out. But it's just going to be a vehicle for more media. And I think that I hope that people will continue to stop supporting this. And I think they are. I think that people are getting fatigued of all of this negativity, of all of this sickness, and all of this degeneracy in our media. And they want something, you know, like real and true and beautiful. Oh, and yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that.
I mean,
so.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. You know, with the next game that's coming out, I'm not gonna buy it, as I said, but I probably will get the soundtrack because Trent Reznor. You know, same thing that I kind of feel like it's like I'm kind of not really all that concerned about the new Tron movie, but I'll probably get the soundtrack because that is actually going to be under the banner name of Nine Inch Nails rather than Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. But you know, I mean, surprisingly, I'm not wearing a Nine Inch Nails shirt right now. I'm wearing Pink Floyd. But you know, he himself as an artist that I've admired and you know, kind of drawn you know, inspiration from over the last 30 some odd years plus at this point of listening to Nine Inch Nails. He's not the same guy that he used to be, and I know we all grow and age and things like that. He still makes good music, but I don't know that I would necessarily fully go along with some of the stuff that he's even, you know, into at this point. But yeah, I'll still get the music, but I'm not going to buy that game, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Last piece of news that I want to talk about is how to make a game that people want to play.
Yeah.
So here we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which had been eagerly awaited on for a while, and now it's here. Yep. And apparently it is making huge waves. Everybody loves it.
Oh, but I thought if games were released on Game Pass, it affected their sales.
This game is not on Game Pass, right?
No, it is. It is. It was day and date. This game proves that all that kind of rhetoric that they try to say that these games that failed because no, people are just playing on Game Pass, so we're going off engagements and players rather than sales. It's like no, if you actually have something good, people will want to own it. You know, they'll want to actually have the thing and not just have it through a Netflix service for gaming. So this and
one of the things about this game, Yeah, one of the things about this game that I think is really hilarious, and I did some digging to find out what the sales differences are between this and the AAA titles. But okay, so this game, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, has emerged as a shocking success in 2025, captivating both critics and players, as detailed in the provided web search results. So I did some searching on. For PS5, Windows, and Xbox Series X and S, the game sold 1 million units in 3 days of launch. 1 million units sold. Not players playing, not engagement, sold copies of the game. 1 million within 3 days of launch, surprising initial expectations by reaching 500,000 copies on day one. This commercial triumph is underscored by its critical acclaim, earning a 92% score from critics and a 97% score by users on Metacritic, based on over 2,500 reviews, making it the highest rated user-scored game on the platform and earning universal acclaim and must-play badges. GameSpot's review scored it a 9 out of 10, praising it as an RPG classic despite minor exploration pitfalls, while The Gamer awarded it full 5 stars, highlighting its ability to shatter expectations. The game's success is particularly notable given competition from Oblivion Remastered, which was like the shadow drop that
and it also sold really well.
It also sold really well, yes.
And it was also available through Game Pass as well. So
yes.
Yeah, these two games very much prove that if you have a good quality game, people won't just stop at Game Pass. They will actually, people are willing to buy stuff that's actually done. And I think that Oblivion, not to take us too far off the rails, I think Oblivion actually did well because it wasn't handled by Bethesda directly. It was a smaller development studio that was doing the thing.
Well, from what I know about Oblivion Remastered is like the only thing they really updated was like the graphics engine, but I think that like all the voice acting is the same. All the bugs are still there. Like some of the fun meme bugs are all there. And it was basically just updated for, and that's cool because it's sort of like, you know, people today, they want to play, if they want to get into the Elder Scrolls, again, they probably would like to see something that looks like a modern game. So I know some people don't like that and they say, oh, just play the old one. But come on, man, Morrowind is pretty fucking ugly. I would like to, I've never played those games. But I would never played those games because, I generally don't like the color palette in a lot of like Western RPGs. But I'd be willing to check out Morrowind because some people say it's the best one. I don't really know. So, but and I heard that they're going to remake. There's talks of remaking Fallout 3 as well by the same people. I have Fallout 3. I thought it was all right. I understand the New Vegas is better, but anyway. So here's the thing. This game was made by like 30 people. I think 33 plus some a small Korean team. And it was done Sandfall Interactive, French studio with a core team of approximately 30 people. About 34 worked in-house with some pulling dual roles across writing and quest design. An additional 8 people from a Korean gameplay animation team contributed, right? In the gaming industry, indie or mid-tier RPGs, this game, they don't really know what the exact budget is, but estimates say that it's about $20 million at the most. Yeah,
it's definitely a success in every way that you look at it.
Yeah. And then selling 1 million units in 3 days at a likely price of $60. I think it was like $60 per copy. Generated $60 to $70 million in revenue within that period. So that already like absolutely demolished the budget. And when you compare this, and this will be like where I'm going to end it at, unfortunately, to its contemporary games that are failing, that is causing all the layoffs that are scaring people. All right. Let's compare some things. So Claire Obscura, estimated budget, the real one, 10 to 15 million. Okay. And it sold like how many? 1 million copies? That is insane. All right.
Yeah.
Avowed, the budget is 80 million.
Right.
Okay. Dragon Age the Veilguard, And this is like without the marketing and stuff, so it's probably more than that. Dragon Age the Veilguard, 150 million.
And that's only in its most recent version. There were 4
Yeah.
versions of Dragon Age. You know that they
Assassin's
went
Creed
through.
Shadows, 200 million.
Yep.
Star Wars Outlaws, 180 million. And Concord, just for fun, 120 million.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why Expedition 30, and you know, a lot of the people that worked on this game, they used to work for Ubisoft. So I know that would make people like hesitant, like, oh shit, it's like French people.
No, these were the people that had the talent, skill, and ability.
Those are the people who left.
Off.
Yes. These are the people who left because they were talented. And I know, or they got fired. Maybe they were like, this team is too, you know, male, pale, and stale, and we had to get rid of them. So that could be another thing. So if you guys, from what I heard, if you're really interested in an RPG, this one is, and you know, it's like a completely like interesting world, very unique, very creative. It's a bit of a risk taker. So I would say, you know, like if you're interested, check it out. Yeah. And also, and I'm just gonna like plug this one more time really quick. I would also recommend Lords of the Fallen. I've been playing it quite a bit, and it's got 2-player co-op. It's not that hard. It's very well done. And these guys, they listen to their fans. They tried to make good on what people were, you know, had questions about. They asked them. They said, "What do you want?" And they gave it to them. And I think this game deserves like more support. So if only if that's something that you'd be interested in. But I like it. It's like, it's not that hard. Don't let the Souls-like thing intimidate you. It's really not that bad. You can play co-op from start to finish. And if you know somebody that owns it, you can play it with them for free. Like there's like it's sort of like what's that game where you can play 2 players? There's a couple of those, you know, where they get a free second player co-op pass.
Split Fiction has
Split Fiction. That's the one I was thinking of. Split Fiction. Yeah. So, you know, check that out.
Yeah.
And
we were efficient today. We did a story and cheesecake because we just highlighted a few good games that are actually worth your time and consideration.
I wanted to like give shout out to Claire Obscura and Lords of the Fallen. So, but I'm afraid I can't stay for any cake because we're at time now.
No. Like I say, I think we just gave people a slice of cake. You know, there's 3 good games that we just mentioned. Hopefully we'll have more time for things like next week, and it won't be so staggered by things. But yeah, no, I think we both have things to do. I have a show to prepare for because like I said, 4 p.m. today on Heavenly Jester's channels on Rumble and YouTube. We're going to be live streaming over there. He's got a new pop culture kind of show. We're going to try to avoid getting into, you know, too much kind of political tearing apart kind of stuff, but we're going to be talking about Oblivion and the leaks for Fallout Season 2. It's my understanding, and that, like I said, is going to be at 4 p.m. today. And then, of course, beyond that, I'll be on Will of the Fans tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, as I am on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then throughout the week, of course, I'm always with Toasty at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on all days of the week except for Wednesdays and Saturdays. And of course, I'm here with you on Saturdays. But yeah, and the Old White Road at 4 p.m. on Fridays. So, but yeah, no, I thank you everybody for joining us as always, especially everybody who took the time to join us on Rumble. YouTube is an exploitation ghetto. Fuck YouTube. That's kind of becoming my call sign. But yeah, no, it was a great conversation today. Wish we had more time to spend doing stuff. But with that said, you know, safe travels ahead. Have a wonderful weekend going forward. Be awesome as always.
All right. Thanks, guys, for coming on the show. And I look forward to seeing your comments. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, especially to Rumble. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of The Week in Culture. And we will talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people. And maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.